What's up? You're listening to the Questions Hip Hop Podcast on the Stony Island Audio Network. I'm your host, Sean Kantrowitz, and this episode is breaking from our typical formats. We've got a few that we've been doing recently, but this episode is publishing on the 2-year anniversary of the death of MF Doom, an MC, a producer, and an underground legend whose impact and legacy was really only... those who knew understood, and they were beating the drum as loud as they could since the beginning. But unfortunately, as is often the case, his legacy and impact have really only been recognized since his passing. And I believe, and we talk about this in this episode, that it's just going to continue to elevate and grow. So MidaZ and I decided to break from the typical Making Illmatic format, and we decided to do a special Making Doom-matic episode. We're not cutting songs. He and I decided beforehand to pick our 10 favorite, most essential MF Doom songs that we would want to put on a playlist to put somebody on to the magic and the wonders of MF Doom. We didn't know what the other person was going to pick, and we go back and forth and see how many we have in common, and we talk about the songs that we did pick. So hope you guys like this. This was cool and just a real pleasure to go back in and revisit a lot of music that was so instrumental in informing my taste and MidaZ's taste and our aesthetic and our sensibilities. And I hope that everybody enjoys it. Big shout out to the Questions Patreon. You guys have been supporting the show and, having a bit of an impact on the show as well, voting on some of the classic episodes to be published as podcasts, taking part in conversations and little side tangents that we have. And for this episode, you're also getting a pretty significantly long bonus clip that is not included in this episode about us talking about our personal histories with Doom. Shout out to the Patreon. You can join by hitting the link in the bio. Shout out to everybody who has been sharing and spreading the word. A lot of cool feedback we've been getting on social media recently. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast and leave a 5-star rating and review. Doing so really helps us continue to get on more people's radars, and I really appreciate that. So without further ado, we're going to hop right into this. This is MidaZ and I paying homage and celebrating the music of MF Doom. This is the Questions Making Doom-matic.
Who did it first? Who did it best? Who did it worst? That's the question. Who rapping there? That remix, and what happened when? That's the question.
Let me ask you a question.
And if you ain't know what needs, then my guys knowing what you need. Some answers to the questions.
So now here we are. It's 2 years since the passing of MF Doom, which is absolutely crazy to me. It doesn't feel like it's been that long. And for me, and I'm not the first person to say this, in many ways, it still doesn't actually feel real. It sort of feels, especially for an artist like him, that I'm almost waiting for the other shoe to drop and waiting for the surprise or the sneak, or that he's going to, drop an album and he was hiding and he was in the Bahamas. I guess like this is not dissimilar to how a lot of people felt about Tupac dying. It was, oh no, he's alive, he's in the Bahamas or he's in Costa Rica. It's maybe that denial coping mechanism that we give ourselves to, deal with the fact that we've lost these beloved music figures. But something that's interesting to me, and I wanted to talk to you about before we get into what we're going to do tonight or today or whenever you listen to this, is it's sort of improbable that MF Doom is very potentially on a trajectory to just get bigger after his death. And the reason that I say that is because, first of all, we see this happen all the time. We saw this happen with Jay Dilla. We saw this every time somebody dies, they're lionized by fans. And it's that, the whole reason that we have the concept of giving people their flowers while they're still here, because collectively we sort of have a tendency to not appreciate people until they're gone. But with Doom, it sort of seems like because his identity was so connected to an icon that it wasn't necessarily that, oh, we're going to miss Doom going live on IG as he did every week, and we're going to miss Doom, being so forthright and connected with fans. There was so much of that mystery that obviously the only difference here is that he's not going to be releasing new music, but the legend and sort of the character world building of Doom sort of remains unchanged.
Yeah.
Unchanged. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree. I think, and plus, I think one of the things about these artists that get immortalized when they pass in a different way, right? When you think about Tupac, because there's certain people that pass and even though they were big, like we know what happened, but when there's mystery behind it, I think that factors in. You got that with Doom. There's mystery behind it. The way that he passed, when he passed, like we don't even really know, right? But then also, there's gotta be I think there's the lore of the trove of music that we haven't heard. And like, unlike a Biggie, for example, like there really wasn't a whole lot of mystery other than we'd never found the killer, but we know what happened, and there wasn't that much music.
It's a relatively finite well of what was there, and it's been repurposed.
And it's been there's not that much. But with Doom, we don't know nothing. We don't know. There's and we know we've heard. So in the last week, I've heard two different things that have re-brought up like the Doom mystery to me. One, I was reading that article. There was an interview with MidaZ, and MidaZ was like, "Yeah, I sent them all the joints. Like, he had all the beats. Like,
for a new album."
For another Mad Villainy album.
Right.
Like I sent them all the beats. I heard like there's a bunch of joints, and I'm like, there's probably a fucking Mad Villainy album out there. Then I saw some interview with Ghostface the other day. Did you see this?
You sent it to me and I watched a little bit of it because they were supposed to be working on the what was it called? The
Doom Starks.
Doom Starks, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, yo. They asked him about Doomstarks, and Ghost was like, I did my parts. Like, I did everything. And he had it. And, like, he was like, I'm pretty sure the album is done or close enough to, in a way where people can consume. And I'm like, so there's two Doom albums sitting out there. Well, and then you add on to the fact that this dude did, the work rate of MF Doom. Look at 2000 through 2007. Like,
right.
That he was making beats. We know that he didn't go to the UK and not make beats anymore. That these things happen. So, yeah, I think that mystery, along with the mystery of just Doom anyway, turns into like, it's just an allure. Like you're gonna live on through we don't know.
Right, and I think on a way more superficial level as well. Again, going back to the imagery used, I think that it could be, it's the branding, as much as I hate to talk about that, lends itself to a longevity. I got an email in my inbox today from Rhymesayers on their mailing list, and they're talking about that they're going to be launching the new MF Doom apparel,
Yeah, I just saw today, hats and shirts.
Yeah, and again, you can sort of feel both ways about it. It's cool to see that. Sometimes it also feels, is this exploitation? Although I don't necessarily think that that's the case with this. I know that they still had a good relationship with him as far as I know, and you got to assume that the proceeds are hopefully going to go to the right people. But, it's kind of, I think I heard somebody else say this, or maybe this is a thought that I just had. It's almost kind of like a Grateful Dead type thing. That stuff has long surpassed, even though, technically the Grateful Dead has reformed and there's other people, but Jerry Garcia has been dead for a very long time. But the branding of that world lives on, and I could totally see a world in which these masks just never go away. The mask is always there.
Yeah, I can see the same. It's, you know, he by not wanting to be branded, he branded himself perfectly.
Right. To say nothing of the fact that there are so many artists now that are of his ilk that took a page from, you know, that Doom style, the style of writing, the style of production, all those things. We haven't even really seen it yet, because I think there's going to be a whole new crop of artists who really cite MF Doom as one of their main influences. Then there's that, like, you know, picture that's been passed around of Tyler the Creator and Earl Sweatshirt like geeking out that they're with MF Doom, like just losing their minds. And you know, Tyler and Earl are two huge artists of their era, you know?
Well, I think Doom is never going to go out of style. So, like, for instance, right?
Because he never was in style.
That's the thing. That's exactly where I was going. Tupac was a creature of the 90s. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when you think of Tupac, you have to think of the 90s with that. His whole style fit the 90s. He did music of the era. I don't think that Doom did music of any era. He's era-less, you know? Like, you're gonna find Doom in 2040 and it's not gonna sound like the 2000s. Right. It's gonna sound like this counterculture over here thing. And that's gonna help his longevity, because he can be found. He unknowingly probably, but he did the thing where he didn't date his own music. So I know one of the things that I learned, and I try to tell young MCs when I'm talking to them, is don't ever scream out the year in your raps.
Right.
Stay away from that. I used to do that. But yo, it's you know what I mean?
Yeah,
nah.
Don't do that. Don't
scream out the year. You'll date yourself. Doom doesn't date himself. Even in context, right? He's never talking about current events.
Right.
You know what I mean?
A lot of it harkens back to the past, but it's so obscure that you might not even know that it's the past unless you have the knowledge of what is he talking about in that bar?
Yeah, bro. Yeah. So, like, he doesn't date himself. He's gonna sit outside of time.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. So we're the Making-O-Matic boys. We sort of have a thing that you guys are all familiar with, but we're changing it up a little bit in this particular episode. And MidaZ and I both put together our list of 10 essential Doom joints that if we were making the definitive MF Doom album, these are the ones that are going to go on there. You and I do not know which 10 we have picked. And
Correct.
We're not going to be doing any trimming, actually. We're going to go back and forth and talk about the joints that we have picked out. And I think the part of the game here that'll be interesting for us and anybody listening to this is how many joints do we have an overlap on? And I'm actually interested because I know that we have very similar tastes and then very different tastes. And for an artist like Doom, there's so many different lanes and specific eras in his catalog that you could pick from.
It's tough. I actually picked 11 joints. And the reason why I picked 11 was because I was like, I couldn't make a decision on one or two of them, and I'm like, as I go through this, I'll make the decision on the joint. But I'm gonna tell you, man, there's no run. I mean, for me, as a fan, right? I think the RZA between 93 and 97 is the GOAT run of albums. Now, RZA's not the main rapper on all those albums.
Right.
But between 36 and Forever, I put that run up against whoever, whatever, album after album after album every year. To me, the only other run like that where you're just out of control for a stretch is Operation Doomsday through probably Food,
right?
Or even Danger Doom, you could even say. So I would say maybe Operation Doomsday through Danger Doom. That's a hell of a run, man. I mean, record after record, Doomsday, Vaudeville Villain,
Ghidorah.
Ghidorah, all the beat tapes, all the Metal Fingers joints.
Yeah,
you know,
Special
like
Herbs.
it's God, man, that's a hell of a run. That's a hell of a run. It's a lot to pick from. Yo, it was hard to not pick a couple Metal Fingers joints just for this joint, and those are just beats.
I know. I definitely had a tough time, and we'll see how this shapes up. I feel like I picked my favorite 10. I don't know if I'm not going to say anymore, but we'll get into it. So, all right. So why don't you start it off and tell me what your first pick is for the MF Doom album.
So, listen. I've long stated in personal conversations that Rock Marciano is the greatest first song rapper of all time. Meaning, the first joint on every Rock Marcy album is gonna be bananas every time, guaranteed. Like the set-off joint, he wins on the set-off joint. So I started going through these Doom records, and I'm like, you know, I might have proclaimed this too early, because every first song on the Doom albums is bananas.
Yeah.
And I have an affinity for your first song. Your first song is a statement song. You gotta come out and wow me from out the gate. With that being said, we starting off the MidaZ Making Nomadic Doom album like this.
Living off borrowed time, the clock tick faster. That'll be the hour they knock the slick blaster. Dick Dastardly and Muttley with sick laughter. A gunfight and they come to cut the mix master. ICE Cole, nice to be old. Y2G Steve twice to threefold. He sold scrolls, low and behold. Know who's the illest ever.
Accordion. Mad Villainy.
Accordion.
It's, you know, there's going to be two things discussed here. And I think I know where we're both going to lean towards on both of those, even though we both have an appreciation of the other end. He's an amazing writer and an amazingly unique rapper. He also picked or produced, but in this case picked, some of the craziest beats ever. And for me,
his ear is phenomenal.
His ear is phenomenal. And yeah, that song starts with the beat, and it's so instantly recognizable, and it has such its own character. I want to say that there was a Song Exploder episode about this song, or maybe it was about the Daedalus song that was sampled. I think it's a Daedalus sample. I'll cut it out if I'm incorrect about this. But it's such a distinct sample, so crazy. It's a beat that really breathes. And yeah.
It's a different sound than I've ever heard. I never heard a beat like Accordion. I never heard. This is, to me, to your point about Doom's ear. I never. The reason why we've never heard a beat like Accordion is not because there haven't been beats like Accordion. It's because no rapper has picked a beat like Accordion to rap on. And he chose that beat. He was like, yeah, that one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's weird, and then he calls it accordion. Like, that's the thing, bro. Like, the genius in the track title,
right?
Like, we've kind of gotten lazy in nowadays. Like, I have, because a lot of times I'm just naming the track some words that's in the rap, like,
right?
You know, but like, just the fact that you're gonna name the track after the instrument because it's so prevalent. You know what I'm saying? And the way that it comes in to start Mad Villainy after that skit, and it's you don't know what the first thing you're gonna hear, and you just hear those accordions go off, and then
right.
And then let's not forget to speak about the rhyme.
Right. Wait, before you do that, I will jump in that whatever, you know, the Song Exploder podcast, which I only vaguely remember, whatever it was about, it's actually revealed that is not an accordion. It's like a harmonium or something like that. But it sounds like an accordion. But that's just one of those fun, like, you know, kind of tidbit trivia factoids that it's like, it is not an accordion, but for all intents and purposes, it sounds like an accordion.
Doom's a super villain. He said it's an accordion.
So now it is.
Yeah. My man said, living off borrowed time, the clock ticks faster. Like, Just out the, one of my, so I borrowed heavy from Doom. I changed my whole style after I heard Doom. After I got into Doom, I was like, I need to go deeper into the bag of poetry. To like, there's a guy out there doing crazy things with poetry. Like I gotta play in a different sandbox. So when you hear a line like "living off borrowed time, the clock ticks faster," like the way that you are giving me a parable in an opening line is and the delivery on the entire Mad Villain album is one of I laud that album because to me that's his greatest vocal performance.
Yeah,
album.
It's the apex of him doing that because I think we spoke about it in the Danger Doom episode. The later years, there was definitely a shift in style that is not my favorite. I think it wasn't your favorite either.
Yeah,
but,
it just sounded like he wasn't as on time. The rhymes didn't suffer. He was still amazing. It just on time, clarity, attention to detail with the delivery, I think started to change a little bit. But he's at the peak of his powers on Mad Villainy, and Accordion is, my man says, slip like Freudian. Like, come on, man. Accordion. So was Accordion on your list?
It was my number 11. It was. So like I did 10, but I had that on the like just below, like, because I didn't think about it like you did in terms of structuring like what is going to be the first song. I was just like thinking of here's my 10, and it was right there on the
So
bench.
here, let me throw this at you though. If you did, even without, I didn't come into it structuring it that way either. This is what happens though. I can't listen to Mad Villainy without starting with Accordion. Like I can't skip it.
Same.
Like I have to start at Accordion to listen to anything else on that record.
Yeah.
And that's what, to me, it's actually not my favorite record on Mad Villainy. But the fact that I can't ever skip it
says something.
It says something. Yeah.
All right. Well, then I'm going to go into my pick. And I don't know the order here, so I'm trying to think what I want to do here. All right, I'm just going to run down from my list. So
let's go.
One of the joints that I think has to be on there is a Madlib produced track, but it's not on Mad Villainy.
Oh, let's go.
It's actually on the Born Like This album, and it is Absolutely.
Whoa.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely. If they get the villain surrounded them. Good to the last, drop nigglets. Hood to the blast, pop them bigot ass piglets. Go for the bosses, dicks are higher. Beat walkers still get caught up in the crossfire. Get at the Sarge, he give the orders. The rest of them punks will quit the force or get slaughtered. Use stealth, play alleys, jet. We'd rather not alert them nosy fella rallies yet.
Didn't see that coming. Didn't see that coming, but Absolutely's crazy. So why did you pick Absolutely?
Honestly, for some very similar reasons to why you picked Accordion. To me, it's a beautiful beat. Like, and maybe we're not saying that Accordion is a beautiful beat so much as it's distinct, but to me, Absolutely is just a beautiful beat. I love the production on that. He's coming in strong as well in the opening lines and throughout. It, to me, and maybe part of it is also that what it represents inside the canon of knowledge of the Doom discography. We all love Mad Villainy so much.
Yeah.
And God, we wanted Mad Villainy 2 to come out. Everybody was salivating about it. And with a few, like maybe a couple other exceptions, this is really all we got.
That's it.
Between the two of them after this album dropped. So to me, it's not only the best song on Born Like This, in my opinion, but it's such a great revisiting of a beautiful partnership between Madlib and MF Doom.
I would agree. You know, the actual, you know, I love it when Doom would rhyme about a topic because he's so good at it.
Right.
You know, when he wanted to tell a story or be metaphoric, like he didn't always do that, but and it's funny because people tell me all the time, like, man, you're such a great storyteller, but I don't storytell that often. Because I think you've got to be, it's a certain production. It's a certain, like, the beat's got to feel a certain way, and then you open up that chamber, and then when that chamber opens, you kill it. And I think with Doom, like, it took a special production like that one to open up the floodgates. All right, so let's do this, right? Absolutely is crazy. Absolutely is not on my list, but I have no fight with Absolutely. It's phenomenal.
And just to add on to something that I think we're going to say a lot, the level of storytelling and painting a picture that this man does with his rhymes is out of control. And
it's
like
too much.
On this song, a fake judge with many years on the bench that sent some good cats to the chair was aired in a trench. They say her tongue was teared out, smeared and drenched, the whole system scared in doubt with a fear stench. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, honestly, if you want to keep it a hundo, Born Like This has some of the best Doom rhymes of his entire catalog.
It does.
Which is filled with immaculate rhymes.
It does.
But Born Like This, he's kind of at another, like, just on a purely lyric writing level, he might be at his apex.
Yeah.
On, like, just being ill.
Yeah.
On the Born Like This. Like, every verse on the Born Like This album is out of control. Like, even on the joints you don't love as much,
you can't deny the pen game.
Nah, the pen is out of control on that. Yeah. All right. I see you. I see your Absolutely. And I raise you.
Super. I got this girl and she wants me to duke her. I told her I'll come scoop her around 8. She said, Super. That sounds great. Shorty girl's a trooper. No matter what I need her to do, she be like, Super. On his own throne, the boss like King Cooper. On the microphone, he flossed the ring. Super. Average MCs is like a TV blooper. MF Doom, he's like DB Cooper. Out with the moolah. I let her get her outfit just to cool her off. She said,
hey man, on the microphone, he flossed the ring. Look, man. So here's what's interesting about Hoe Cakes and Just the Food album for me, right? Is so my favorite, like, again, it's interesting when I put this list together because this is not I wouldn't consider this to be my favorite record on that on Food. I don't even know if it'd be because I love One Beer, right?
All right, don't. You know,
okay, my bad.
Don't spoil any picks here.
There's other records that I love on there.
Yeah,
but this song has entered my vernacular. Like, it's a song that pops in my head often, more often than other songs, because anytime I say the word super, I think of this fucking song every single time, right? Again, Doom is the master of the full song metaphor.
Right. He was doing that all over this album.
So, Hoe Cakes. Hoe Cakes, man, like, just the way that he was able to, like, okay, so, like, this is what makes Doom, this is another thing that makes Doom ill to me. The beat itself, I always look at, I say this in Making Nomadic all the time, I look at these beats sometimes like, man, would I rap on that? And what would I come up with on that? And like, I would have never came up with that shit on that, bro. Like, never. Ever. Like, I would have heard that, like, first of all, it's a beatbox.
And then they dropped that Anita Baker.
Then he drops the Anita Baker sample on it. Yeah. Like, who even thinks of that as a mismatch of things? Number one,
it is a mismatch. Like, that's what it is.
It's out of control. It doesn't make any logical sense. And then he comes in with the super, like so it's the Anita Baker, it's the beat, and then it's the super trigger, and then he flips the whole song about all the different ways to flip super. Like, it's too crazy, bro. Like, it's one of those moments where he made 3 or 4 different things that I wouldn't have cared about work.
Right.
Like, any of those things by themselves, I'd have been like, I'm out on this. But it's fire.
Yeah. The Food album is so special to me, and in many respects, it is sometimes my favorite Doom album. Even though I recognize it's not necessarily as important as some of the other Doom records, but it has some of my favorite songs on it. And I think, again, he was deep in the entendre, sort of bag and working with a food motif on so many of these songs, not just in the title, but in a lot of the lyrics, and then applying those same tools to, like you're saying, okay, I'm going to do a whole song about Super. How many ways can I flip that? It's great. And I would say, we're not necessarily building a firm track list here, but this is also a great song where it appears in the sequence of that album. And, as soon as you played it, I was like, oh, this is like an amazing second track. It really is like a really...
Especially going off the logic of what I've told you, of how I view second track. You got to make... So the first track is, oh, shit. The second track is where you rhyme, though.
Yeah.
And, he comes out crazy on it. Doom was the first cat that I remember to pull out DB Cooper in a verse.
Right.
And for somebody like me, who was up on, conspiracy theories and shit, when he hit the TV blooper, MF Doom, he's like DB Cooper. I was like, yo, what? Is he what the? And then the deepness of it is, I caught that on 4 levels. I'm like, TV blooper, DB Cooper, MF Doom.
Right.
Right? And the fact that nobody knows who DB Cooper is. You know what I'm saying? I'm just sitting here going, fucking guy. Even a line that in itself is not a super technical line per se is an extremely technical line.
Right.
That's what he does, man. And all the different ways he found to flip the word super is crazy to me. There's I would have never thought of all that shit.
All right, so for my next pick, I'm going to pick another, I guess we could call this something of maybe an underdog. I would be very surprised if you have this on your list. Off the Victor Vaughn album, and it is Saliva.
Great balls of fire. Guess who just crawled out the Mountain Maya that can make you trust a motherfucking liar? A real sucker jiver. Vaughn never been a duck and diver. He spit on the mic, yuck saliva. Hold it like a drunk driver. Hold a CB on a sharp turn. Still clutching his chest from the heartburn. What's your handle? I need a Zantac, and thanks before I blank into anaphylactic shock. Rock or disco, chocolate or the Crisco hole. Cock diesel and still tell a joke like Joe Piscopo.
So let me, right quick, I just got to say this about that record, about the Victor Vaughn record. When you said Saliva, I was like, so I know the track listing, right? As you said it, I can see the track listing. But I don't remember. I didn't know what song that was when you said it.
Right.
The reason why is I've never put on the Vaudeville Villain album without playing it from start to finish, and I never look at the track listing. I just
let it play. You just set it and forget.
Yeah, and I know all the songs on there, but there's a couple that if it's not so obvious what the name is, I don't even know that. That's why you were like Saliva. I'm like, Saliva, yeah, I know it's on there, but which one is that? And as soon as it came on, I'm like, yeah. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, again, I'm gonna definitely go towards the beats a lot on some of these because it's not a slight to Doom. It's just that he always rhymes well. So to me, a lot of times it's about what does the beat do to me. This is one of my favorite RJD2 beats. Also, it's kind of random that he did a song with RJD2. It was, I think, the only time that they collaborated. And, Doom was not somebody who necessarily worked with a lot of producers outside of his camp. And RJD2 is not somebody who really has worked with a lot of rappers outside of his camp. So this is kind of like a lightning in a bottle. And I don't really know the story, if there is any story behind this, but I would assume that there wasn't, like most Doom collaborators, except for Madlib, they probably weren't in the same room. It was just a send the beat type shit. It's just great balls of fire. Guess who just crawled out the muck and mire? They could make you trust a motherfucking liar.
Yo, what an ill way to start a verse.
He's so good. He's so there's just no way. There's no way to say that it's it's just straight bars. There's no chorus. There's no real song structure. It's just it's so ill.
To the point of that, one of the ways that Doom was a major influence on me was that idea that I didn't even know that you could do a song without a hook. I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't even know you could do that. I was like, there's rules to creating songs, and one of them is that you have to have a hook.
Right.
And I remember hearing Doom records and being like, there's no hook on this. And
this was before Jay-Z let us know that he didn't need a hook for this
yeah,
shit.
right. Or Shaq Diesel and Method Man.
Very
you don't
true.
need no hooks. No
That's right.
hooks. Because even that was a hook.
Yeah, that kind of was a hook.
Right? But like Doom would do these verses that were just a verse. And the thing that it made me feel was, wait a minute, this doesn't even feel like a song without a hook. And it was because of the way he rhymed. He rhymed in a way where you stayed interested even though you didn't get the hook to break up the quote unquote monotony.
Right.
Because the rhymes were so interesting.
Right. He wasn't leading up to a crescendo that happens usually at the end of the 16th bar or the 15th bar where you're like, all right, and now take me to the chorus. Didn't need it. It's like to your point exactly. It's interesting the whole way through.
Yeah, he didn't ever so he did a thing that, again, where I've tried to steal from him or borrow from him, whatever it is, he worked every line. He didn't take a line off. Doom didn't have setup lines. Doom didn't write and say, I really want to say this. So let me just figure out a way to get to this. Like every line was a line in itself. And that's why you didn't necessarily need a hook on these joints. Right? Like how many Doom joints have hooks? Like
not many. No,
there's not many.
No.
At all. Right? And like another thing that he did besides just the idea of just kicking a long verse was like there's no science to how many bars there are either. Like, it's not like, I'm going to kick a long verse, they're always going to be about this many bars. Nah, it's just whatever. It's whatever he felt that he felt was right. And it almost always worked. So the joint that I'm going to pick right now is also off of the Victor Vaughn album. It's my favorite joint on the Victor Vaughn album. It is the illest way outside of accordion to start a fucking album. My brother Doom with Liquor Pond.
Confirmation of your worst fears. Ever since his first years, had thirst for beers. Back from the future, it'll make you more soberer. And brought back a long list of fakers who crossed over. I'm like, fuck it, bubble baller. Catch him up at Bob's show, stalling with a trouble caller. Bastard, who can make G's faster than a newly remastered while being truly plastered? There's four sides to every story. If these walls could talk, they probably still ignore.
I know that verse word for word. That's a long ass verse, right? Like, what is that? 2 minutes and 44 seconds of one verse that starts at the very fucking top. I know every bar of that fucking verse and can spit it at any moment. Confirmation of his first fears. Ever since his first years, had a thirst for beers. Back from the future to make you more solar. Come on. It brought back a long list of fakers who crossed over. Like, to me, that's one of the best Doom verses in his whole catalog. Like, he goes bananas for 2 minutes and 44 seconds. Flips, I don't remember who did that beat, but flips the Biggie sample, right?
Yeah, the Isaac Hayes Walk On By.
Flips the Isaac Hayes sample, right? And this is the thing. It's one of the biggest Biggie songs. It's not like a deep
it's
cut.
not an album cut. Yeah, exactly.
Nah, it's Warning. Like, it's the fucking, who the fuck is this? Like, it's one of the more important Biggie songs ever created. Doom makes you not care that you've heard that before.
He made it his own, and the song was produced by Heat Sensor. That was the producer who flipped the beat.
You never felt like I feel like any other situation you'd be like, damn, this nigga gonna flip the same sample as, like, why would you do that? In this case, the way that this dude caught a body on there,
who cares? Let him do what he wants. Yeah.
So Liquor Pond is crazy. I remember looking at the title and being like, Liquor Pond? Like, what is that? What? And then you just told the chick the quickest way to get on, Liquor Pond. I'm like, yo, he's crazy, bro. Like, this is another level.
It's also interesting that we both picked songs. I picked Saliva and you said Lick Upon. So we're both sort of in the same area of the body, in Doom's body of work.
I feel like Doom would appreciate everything you just said.
I hope so. I hope he wouldn't dislike anything that we're doing throughout this. And I also appreciate any time you can work Fuddruckers into a rhyme.
Yo! That was a deep reference right there.
Is Fuddruckers still around? I feel like it's not.
There's a Fuddruckers Old Colonial.
Okay, in Orlando. There's
Orlando.
Yes. Is Fuddruckers extremely regional, or do they have them all over the country? Do you know that or not? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I know there's not a lot of them.
Yeah, the last of a dying breed. That's the dying chain.
It's going the way of Bennigan's.
Which some people might not even know what you're talking about, even by saying that. So that proves your point. So
yeah, Lick Upon's crazy. Like, the whole verse is so crazy. You know what I mean? And of the like long verse joints, I think Lick Upon is it's close to the top of the heap of him going crazy. So
do you feel like the Victor Vaughn album is maybe a little underrated in the Doom catalog? Because although it is one that I know people fuck with and they respect, it doesn't really, to my perspective, get held in the same regard as obviously the Mad Villain, Operation Doomsday, Food, even the Danger Doom to a certain extent. I feel like there are, even though you and I discovered we are not these people, there are people who do love that Danger Doom record. Well,
I think part of it is that the Vaudeville Villain album came out in the era of, this is at least for me, so I'm gonna explain it this way. It came out in the era of Kazaa and Audio Galaxy and all that kind of stuff, where music file trading was crazy. And it was really hard to tell the difference between Vaudeville Villain and Venomous Villain.
Right.
Like, they would get all mixed up and
the similar titles certainly didn't do anybody any favors.
Yeah, and that record's not as good as Vaudeville Villain. So I think maybe that has it, but I would contend that Vaudeville Villain is as good as Food and Mad Villainy. You know, it's Vaudeville Villain's really good. There's no skippers on Vaudeville Villain. It's good all the way through.
You know, you raise an interesting point, too, about the era that it came out and the way that it came out. And this is a record that I know everybody's heard and a lot of people bump. I don't know if this is a record that as many people actually own. You know, This was not a record that I saw a lot.
I've never seen the CD. I've never even seen it.
So maybe
you worked at a fucking record shop. You ever seen it?
No, and I'll tell you why, because and this speaks to something. You know, I mean, I did see it, but I didn't see it as much, and it really speaks to the idea that sometimes gets lost, especially now, that if you were a smaller label at this time, the distribution was not always great, and we might at the record store I was working at, or record stores wherever. Yeah, obviously, I'm sure Fat Beats had it. I'm sure that there were other, very hip hop specified places that had it, but I don't know what they were paying. But I know that for a lot of indie record stores, it's like, yeah, we'll order you this. When it arrives, in order for the store to turn a profit on it, you'll have to pay $22 for this album. So that definitely, I think, speaks. Maybe it was kind of like an out of sight, out of mind thing for a lot of people, that we knew it was there, but it wasn't tangible in that way.
Well, so let me ask you, I don't know if you have this information on the top of your head. What comes out first, Mad Villainy or Vaudeville Villain?
I want to say it is Vaudeville Villain, but let me make sure that I'm correct there.
The reason why you looked that up, the reason why I asked that is because of the era, because of how I got put on, those records are timeless to me in the sense that they sit outside of, like, this was the release date.
Right.
When I found Mad Villain, all the other Doom shit was out. Like, and maybe that's what it already was, but like, I didn't know when Mad Villain was coming out. I didn't know when Vaudeville Villain was coming out.
Right.
It was just like if a kid today was just like, oh, I just heard about this guy named Michael Jackson. And you're like, yeah, there's 14 albums. Like,
Yeah.
Go have fun. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of how. So all these albums were just in this fucking in this alphabet soup of like, yeah, you can discover it. Now, right quick before we pull up your next one of the great Doom bars of all time is on this record, where he says, "With a dick head inside a chicken head, no, a dead chicken's head said it helped his nausea. If he lost you, wait for he tell you about the flying saucer." I'm like, yo, what? Like, that was one of the first times, like, Doom would say things, there were a lot of things that would go over your head, there were references you didn't catch, but that was the first time when I went, what?
Yeah.
Like I got it. I'm not lost. I get it, but what? Like,
he's funny too. He's funny.
It's super funny.
Super funny.
But it's so like, it's funny, but it's so like, how did you even think of that? Like, where did that even come from, bro?
Right.
Like, but it's so, and this is right quick as we go through Doom. The thing that was so inspiring to me, which changed my writing forever in listening to Doom, was I never thought Doom did anything that I couldn't do with a pen.
Right.
What I thought was Doom thought about things that normal people don't think about.
Yeah, and drew from references that were outside of maybe the core syllabus for most MCs at the time.
Yeah.
Different books, different writers, different media. You know, we're talking about all the shows and things that he's referencing. And not that he's the only rapper to reference obscure, 70s media and things like that, but
the way
that he did it.
It was mixing the pen with the references that made it crazy. So, but okay, lick upon.
All right, so we've done 5 so far with no copies, which is, I think, a testament to how great Doom is. So this record, Vaudeville Villain, did come out 6 months prior to Mad Villain.
Wow, 6 months.
6
before,
months.
Man. That's insane, bro. That's DMX shit.
It is. And I am going to throw it over to Mad Villainy. And the song that I'm going to pick for my next pick is Meat Grinder.
Tripping off the beat, kinda dripping off the meat grinder. Heat niner, pimping, stripping, soft, sweet minor. China was a neat signer, trouble with the script digits. Double dip, bubble lip, subtlest midget. Borderline schizo, sort of fine tits.
I feel a lot of my picks, and I kind of was getting in my head as I was picking these, is like, I'm sort of picking like the greatest hits. Like, there's no real singles in the MF Doom catalog, but there are songs that definitely feel like this is a very popular, very essential MF Doom song. But I don't care, because I think it's great. I'm not looking to necessarily provide the most obscure or like in the cut. I think that these are just some amazing moments that were captured on record, and similar to the other record that we've added so far from this record, Accordion, where it just hits you all of a sudden with such an interesting identity, a sonic identity with the beat and then the way that the lyrics come in. This is another one where it's the same thing. You have that epic intro with that sleeping in a jar. The jar is under the bed.
Yo,
and then
what is this?
Right. It's like, what is this? And then all of a sudden, the beat kicks in, and it's that bass line and that slide guitar and that percussion that's sort of like breathing. It's just sort of lurching along. And then he just comes in, and again, I'm going to sound like a broken record here. He's just rhyming his ass off. Tripping off the beat, kind of dripping off the meat grinder. Heat niner,
pimping, stripping, soft, sweet minor.
What?
China was a neat sign of trouble with the script digits, double dip, bubble lip, subtle list, midget. Like, yo, what are we doing?
What are we doing?
That's such a crazy way to start a verse. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Double dip, bubble lip, subtle list, midget. Borderline schizo, sort of fine, tits go, porter wine, quarter grind, quarter to 9, let's go. Bro.
Just flexing a mastery of the English language and just being like, yeah, give me all the words. Like,
give me all the words.
And they're like at the store, like, okay, sir, you'd like us to organize and sort these words for you before you put them in the basket. And you're like, no, just throw them all in the basket.
Yo, my man said, yo, like, it's really crazy. Like, you know what's funny? I never thought of it this way until you were just saying it, but like, bro, this verse is so fucking crazy. Where he's like, ever since 10-11 glass she made a brethren, then this last down 7, alligator 7, at the gates of heaven knocking, no answer, slow dancer, hopeless romancer, dopest flow stanzas. Like,
and it's not just like the multi-syllabic patterns, but also later in the song he's like, grind the cinnamon, Manhattan warmongers, you can find the villain in satin, congas.
Yo!
I mean, I feel like this episode could very much just derail into you and I just reciting Doom lyrics,
man.
and that's fine too. But this
The
song
worst hated God who perpetrated odd favors demonstrated in the perforated rod labors.
Get out of here. It's unfair. It's just unfair.
I didn't, I don't have this on my list. I don't have it on my list.
It's fine.
But it's not fine because it's not fine. I fought with this one in accordion, real heavy. And the reason why I went with this one, the reason why I went with accordion over this one was just the fact that I could never skip it. But I don't skip this one either.
Right.
And to the Mad Lib point, when it come in with the doom doom doom, like when you come, this is the thing about the Mad Villainy record. It's a record of discovery where you don't know the sound you're gonna hear next.
Right.
You don't even know what that sound is gonna be.
There's no clues, and in fact, a lot of it is like to throw you off the scent. You hear that beat when it comes in, the jar is under the bit. And you're like, okay, and then total left turn.
Doom doom doom. You're like, that's not what this, like, what happened from what I was just like, what's that? Like, where'd that go? Like, yeah, bro. Part of the reason why I didn't pick Meat Grinder is because I had to include this, and I didn't want to OD on picking Mad Villainy joints. So I was trying to be fair to the entire Doom catalog, but I felt that it was important that this comes on in this whole thing, and this is why I didn't pick Meat Grinder, but I love that record.
I don't wanna hear God around for this. Somebody tell him, that's too much. Who knows who is watching in? Who's watching? Oh, they don't know. They don't know nothing as hard as he thinks they know.
I don't know how this is not essential MF Doom listening. He's not even rapping on it, and it's one of the greatest Doom songs of all time. Hey man, I'm gonna start off like this. That record right there, I am on a MidaZ the Beast is on a consistent hunt to recreate this song.
Rainbows. The song is Rainbows, just for everybody.
Rainbows. Yeah. I haven't found the beat yet. I haven't heard the beat yet that brings that out of me. But my rap life is not complete until I do a song as fire as Rainbows.
It's interesting that in praising him so much for his rapping ability, which has been a little bit more angular, a little bit more tightly packed in the songs we picked thus far, this song also stands just as dope with a very, like you said, is he even really rapping on it? Like, he's kind of just singing, but man, Mad Villain is also like a very stoned album. It's just steeped in a puff, in a cloud of marijuana smoke. And for me, even though there are songs that more directly reference weed on this record, you hear something like this, and it's just like, yeah, you totally can just transport yourself into the basement with Doom and Madlib, and the amount of substances that were being consumed, and just creative focus that was happening.
And the way that they created this record, where you say all that, but then they didn't create the record with any, like, Doom's on the roof, Madlib's in the bomb shelter. They don't talk much. They don't communicate much. Send beats up to the roof, write the rhymes, come down, record. Like, it was like an out-of-body experience, it sounds like to me, for this record to get created. Yo, little known appreciation on this record is the ad-libs on this record. Watch your back, nigga. Freshwater trout.
Streets is watching.
He says freshwater trout, then he follows it with out of water. Dude's crazy, bro. Dude's crazy.
I love this one. I love a lot of this album. And I'm going to keep the streak going as we do the Madvillain Love Here. I promise. I definitely had the same thought as you. Like, I was like, now, Sean, you can't just pick 10 songs.
I can't just pick
Madvillain.
Madvillain. Yeah.
That said, I do have some more Madvillain. And the next one that I'm pulling up for this is Figaro.
The rest is empty with no brain, but the clever nerd, the best MC with no chain you ever heard. Take it from the Tech 9 holder. David don't know they neck shine from Shinola. Everything that glitter ain't fish scale. Let me think, don't let a faint kid Ishmael. A shot of Jack got her back, it's not an axe stack. Forgot about the cat.
Similar, I guess you could say, in style, in a lot of the formatting of like, okay, we're going to give you a really interesting, captivating intro, and then totally do a left turn, and all of a sudden this beat that grabs you by the collar and doesn't let go, and it's just very intriguing. And yeah, again, the opening lines, the chemistry, I'm so glad that Madlib and Doom met. I'm so glad. Like, can you imagine like the what if alternate universe where if this didn't happen, like, we would have lost out on some great music.
Doom does things where even when he's, and with him it was probably on purpose. I don't know, but like when you call the track Figaro, and you feel like he's calling it Figaro because Figaro. But then, he hits you with the best MC with no chain you ever heard, and then there's a Figaro chain. You're like, you're rapping from outer space, bro. Like, why are you from another planet that we haven't discovered? Like, I feel like Doom is Dr. Manhattan. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's from this other. He's sitting on the moon, like. Yeah, they not understanding what I'm doing here. You know what I'm saying? Like it's on that level. Yeah, he's trippy, and God, man, I don't have Figaro, but shit.
Maybe you should have, but it's all good.
Maybe I should have.
Another also great song that's just a long verse, no chorus. Just kind of stands on its own, and you don't feel bored by it.
Yeah, you never feel bored by Figaro, like, and again, the delivery on everything on Madvillainy is so good. Like he's so clear on this song.
Yeah.
Like everything is pure clarity. There's no miss, there's no wasted breath. Like it's almost Rakim level breath control and clarity, because to me Rakim is the apex of clarity and breath control delivery.
Right. It's super clear.
Yeah, and Doom he's on another, like, I'm so glad that he re-recorded this record from the demos, because he wasn't that clear
on the demos,
and he got so crisp on the joint that it's kind of amazing. It's kind of amazing. So yeah, I don't have nothing else on Figaro. I just think it's phenomenal, and it should have been one of my picks. I'm jealous.
Let me ask you this: when you listen to these songs, any songs, but like particularly with these, is it even possible to imagine him recording this with his mask off? Or do you picture him rapping and recording all these with the mask on? Because I cannot divorce it, even though I understand that logically he almost certainly did not wear the mask when he recorded all of these, but I literally cannot envision him recording these songs and rapping in the booth without wearing the mask.
I would say on this record, I definitely do not think that he rapped with the mask on at all. It's too clear.
Right.
There's some records though that I'm like, he probably had the mask on when he spit this shit.
But I'm saying, even in recognizing that, when you think about this, is it possible for you to think of him not wearing the mask?
You think of him with the mask on. He's standing in front of the mic with the mask on, and he's doing it in one. Like, I can't imagine him doing punch-ins. I can't imagine. Like, he comes in, he kicks the verse, he's reading it off of a notebook, and it's real scribbly crazy because you're thinking he can't write, and he's in and out. Like, that's just the vision of a Doom recording session that pops in my head. I'm gonna break up the mad villainy praise, although it deserves all the praise that it would ever get. And we're gonna do this. Let's take it back to Doomsday, which we haven't had anything from Doomsday yet, to bring forth my favorite Doomsday record. Hey.
Just a couple of things I want to say. I only play the games that I win at and stay the same with more rhymes and its ways to skin cats. As a matter of fact, let me rephrase. With more rhymes and ways to fillet felines in these days. Watch the path of the black one, super villain. He reps clubs from Del in a drunken stupor chillin'. Ready and willing.
Let me know if y'all with me, y'all. Hey! Hey is crazy. I'm gonna let you talk about Hey.
I mean, I feel like I'm just gonna be a broken record here, but he knows how to start records so well. The opening line, I only play the games that I win at. Like, for somebody who didn't give a fuck about the conventions of songwriting, he definitely knew how to start a song strong with a line that would stick in your head.
Those opening lines, bro.
The opening lines are out of control.
Like, why are your opening lines so amazing? I don't get it.
Yeah.
I only play the games that I win at. Like, that's a line. And these little parables and shit that he says, like I think about that line all the time. Like, I'll be doing something and I'll be like, I only play the games that I win. Like, it's just, he's that guy that will say something and it's like a tick now that lives in your neck and you're gonna pull it out whenever. Yeah. Hay's crazy. The Scooby-Doo flip.
Scooby-Doo flip is nuts.
The Scooby-Doo flip, but not just the fact that he flipped the music of Scooby-Doo, but he flips the Hey. And like where the Hey comes in and like how that's the beauty. Like, he gets this very often, and Rock Marcy, who I often compare to MF Doom, does it as well. There's something about when you produce your own record that you write, that you're gonna do every idea that you have. When I was not, obviously it's not the same level, but when I was working on loops too, like, you have an idea and you also have all the control to do it exactly the way that you thought of it in your head. So, like, honestly, like, when you listen to Mad Villainy, but then when you listen to Doomsday and Food, there's even a enhanced level of and Mad Villain's so creative, but there's an enhanced level of creativity that goes in because it's all out of his own head.
Yeah, he was the maestro. He was touching every part of it, and it's his world. He's totally controlling all parts of that narrative.
He doesn't have to collaborate. He's not having to compromise his vision in any form or fashion, even if like it makes for a cool whatever. Like, it comes out exactly how he wanted it to. Like on Hey, when the drum skips in the beginning, It's like, what is that? Like, why would you even? It sounds like an accident. Like, why would you leave that in there?
Well, it sounds like the monster, the villain, sort of being animated or reanimated and coming to life, and that sinister, the strings and the organ. It's like some horror movie shit. All right, so we're gonna stay in the Operation Doomsday realm right now.
Let's go. We've not overlapped one time. How many songs are we in?
This is going to be our 10th. So far we've done. We'll see if this 10th one gets doubled up. But I'm going.
It'll be 10.
Yeah, we've done 9 so far.
Each?
No, we've done 9 total. Like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
So I'm going with another cut. It's sort of the title track. It's Doomsday.
Come through, dig the sound. I used to cop a lot, but never cop no drop. Hold mics like ponytails tight and bobble ops. Stop, stick around, come through and dig the sound of the fly brown 6060 psycho who throws a dick around. Bound to go 3 plat. Came to destroy.
I mean, like
rap.
maybe one of the more conventional songs because it has like singing on it.
Yeah,
But
it might be the closest.
The reason that I picked this is because I did want to have some Operation Doomsday representation on the album. And I'll be honest, and this might seem like a controversial take, but I don't think it really is. Operation Doomsday is not my favorite era of Doom. But I recognize that it's important, and he really was laying the blueprint for everything that would follow on here. And it's not like I have a problem with it. It's just there's other Doom records that I prefer. But, this Sade sample...
Yeah.
And then with the Boogie Down Productions edition in there, is, again, we spoke about this earlier, how he took the beatbox and then he put in the Anita Baker. It's like this sort of like no rules.
Where did you come up with this idea?
Where did you come with this? And like no one was checking you, or you didn't even care to include anybody who would check you into what your choices were going to be in any of this. And yeah, to me, I feel like this is just sort of like ground zero for all things Doom.
I agree. It's the Doom gateway drug.
Right. And it kind of like sets up the story. He's referencing his dead brother. He's talking about Doomale. Like this is probably the most conventional song out of either of the 10 that you and I picked that's going to make it onto this playlist mix. But
how do you have it? How do you have it without the record?
Right.
Yeah. How do you have it without the record? I didn't choose I didn't choose Doomsday, although again, like with every joint that you pull up, I'm like, I probably should have picked that.
Same.
But Doomsday is that gateway. Now, I will say Doomsday is probably one of the joints that Cross played for me first that I was like, I don't get it.
Right, because when held up to any of the standards of what you would evaluate rap music by at the time, it doesn't hold up. It's just like, this doesn't, like, the beat doesn't really sound very well produced by the standard of, that's like a well put together beat. You know what I mean?
I feel like this is what, because I wasn't old enough to experience this when it happened, but I feel like this had to be similar to when all the stories that I hear about when people first heard Protect Your Neck.
Right.
And they were like, what the fuck is this?
Right. It's almost like punk rock where it's just so raw and it's so...
10 people on the song, like what has happened? No hook. Like They were so confused by what it was. And this is a record where you hear it, you're like, what the fuck is this, bro? Like I just finished hearing Jigga what? Jigga who? And then you played this.
Right.
Like what is this?
It's that very ridiculous in hindsight notion of not having a problem of whether or not the music is good, but being like, that's not the way it's supposed to be. That's not correct. Music is not supposed to be correct. We learned that, but when you only have a very limited reference point when you're younger, you sort of place things into, well, it's either correct or it's incorrect,
You never heard, I had never heard anything like it. And it's definitely the gateway drug. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's play in the sandbox of the vaudeville villain.
Heard he was the type to do her name in graffiti and greet her with a kiss. Straight gentlemanly steed, a G. Whatever's meant to be is meant to be. She could slip a smile to make a nigga flip wild. Herringbone name chain, diamond chip script style with the matching bracelet. Sweats with the K-Swiss, athletic chick who run track. Hey miss, pleasure's all mine, please call me Vic.
Okay, I did a full inspection.
Let me watch.
Produced by King Honey.
Who?
Yeah, right? Like,
And that
okay.
beat's insane.
Yes. So why
Like
this
this-
one?
So it's again similar to what I was saying earlier about Doom being a phenomenal storyteller. You just, for me, as good as a storyteller as he is, he's phenomenal. He's one of the GOAT storytellers. He, in my opinion, when he wants to tell a story, is Slick Rick, Ghostface level, Nas level of a detailed storyteller, Raekwon level of a detailed storyteller. He just doesn't have that many joints where he does it, because he spends
Right.
a lot of those joints doing what we've kind of gone back and forth playing, where he's rhyming his fucking ass off. He's so good at that. It's like you almost don't even want to go into this other chamber because, bro, I could just do this and like I'm gonna smash every time. But when you get that Doom story, a real Doom story, it's special. And Let Me Watch is special because it's the joint that's got the girl on it,
Apani
Apani
B.
B. Fly,
Yeah.
right? And she's like, he plays a character, she plays a character, and they tell this twisted love story, which, again, how many love records is there in a Doom catalog? So it's like the diamond of the diamond of the diamond in the rough,
Right.
as far as it being a special entry into the Doom catalog. And it's vivid. It's you could see the whole story play out in front of you. It's just a phenomenal record. And I feel like if you're gonna have an essential Doom playlist, this is a joint you need on there to show, like, look at all the things this guy can do.
Do you think that he wrote the whole song, or do you think that they wrote it together? Or
So, what do you know about Apani B?
Not a lot. Not as much as I would like to be able to talk about when dissecting a song that she's featured on right now.
My guess, and I don't know the answer to this, the internets will probably correct us. My guess is Doom wrote the whole record. My other guess, though, is that Apani B, who I don't know anything about, is an MC, and but I have a hard time seeing Doom collaborate in the studio.
Right.
I just feel like it almost never happened. Like, I feel like almost every Doom verse that's ever been laid was recorded dolo with no written and recorded with no, like, I can't see Doom sitting down with her and being like, yo, I wrote this line. What's your next line? Like, it's hard for me to see. So I
Doesn't
feel like he
seem
wrote the whole thing, but either way, it's crazy.
Well, that's going to lead me to my next song.
Let's go.
And people listening might be like, but Sean, this isn't even an MF Doom song. To which point I'll say, I don't care. Yes, it is.
From the top of the key for 3 villain. Been on in the game as long as he can willy a swing. Turn the corner spinning, bust that ass and get up. Dust off the mask, whoever laugh, give him a head up. He got jumped, it pumped his adrenaline. He said it made him tougher than a bump of raw medicine. To write all night long, the hourglass is still slow. Flow from hellborn to free power like Lil Cole. And still owe bills, pay dues forever.
Now, that's Rock Cocaine Flow on De La Soul's Grind Date, which, look, they all kill that song. And one might even say that the real star of that song is Jake One with that beat, because
We never heard nothing like that before that.
oh my God. And that was the beat that really, I think, for a lot of people, it might not have, it's definitely not Jake One's most successful beat in terms of commercial success. He's worked with way bigger
But it's
artists.
the signature beat, though.
It is the signature beat. And
It's the
in my
signature
mind, it never, I mean, it is a De La song. They are rapping on it.
It's a Doom song.
You got 2 Doom verses on this bitch. It is a Doom song. And
Yeah.
De La is very capably holding their own, with him. But that is a Doom song. That's a Doom song.
My man said, been on the game as long as he could wheelie a Schwinn. Like, when I heard that line, I was like, because you're sitting there going, again, Doom was such a inspiration to me as far as saying anything. Like, anything.
Right.
Been on the game as long as he could wheelie a Schwinn. And I'm sitting here going, do black people even know what a Schwinn is? like I do, but that's because I hung out with white people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I got a couple homeboys whose parents have Schwinns. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is crazy to me that he's putting a reference like that in a verse. Like, that's insane, man. And it's funny because he didn't really do so he did do the battle for Atari cartridges to put your kicks up, it's a stick up. Like, he did do the play with the beat, but he didn't do it like Paz did it. Like, Paz was really out here trying to play with the beat. But it was like, I feel like Doom was like, yeah, but like, I'm so nice though. Like, I don't really have to do that trick.
His lines just stick out so much in the song.
Like, I don't
Doom
even
brung
have to
that
do
bum.
the trick.
There goes that news van again. Act like, like Toucan Sam and them.
Come
Woo.
on.
And I can't talk about the song without also mentioning the only time that Doom was ever featured on national television, when they performed the song on Last Call with Carson Daly.
Last Call with Carson Daly.
And De La comes out because Doom doesn't start the song. De La starts the song. Paz starts it's Paz, right? Yeah. And then Doom just comes out, does his verse.
New York Knicks jersey,
and then comes out again when it's his verse, and then leaves. Just like he's not like on the stage, like how the host will come up and like, oh my god, that was amazing. Like, Doom is gone. He comes out, does the verse, leaves. I love watching that clip. I pulled that clip up.
I might have to pull that clip up again because I didn't remember the fact that he left like that.
Yeah.
I didn't even remember that. I was just saying, I'm like, damn, did I notice that? Like, I don't even know if I noticed that. All I could notice was this is the only dude that was rocking jerseys with no shirt under him in that era. Like, you don't even give a fuck. You don't even put the shirt under the jersey. You just show up like you actually was playing basketball. Like, Doom he came out on national TV with the mask on.
Right. Which, like, some would say is the more noticeable thing, but you hop straight to the jersey.
I was bugged out about that because I was like, bro, you didn't even put no shirt under the jersey and shit. Like, what the fuck? But
so I know it's not technically a Doom song, but it is a Doom song. So that's why it needs to stay on here. And I like that it shows that it's a good reminder to show you that he existed in the paradigm of hip hop as it existed, because Doom records and songs are very insular. So you don't really hear him with a lot of contemporaries. A little bit later you might have. And you could even say that they really are contemporaries because KMD and De La were around the same time. And then De La was sort of having another chapter, a boost in their career with this album, and Doom was now this entity in 2006.
Yeah, he was, and it was ill because he wasn't. De La's always been ill on that though. They've been ill on like the let's grab the guy, before he's the guy, but he's like we know he's.
Yeah,
the guy.
And sorry, this is 2004. I said 2006. This was 2004 that this album came out. So yeah, 2004.
Yeah, and like he was still like underground heads. Like, De La was great at grabbing a guy who like heads was up on, but like people that like these guys are superstars. People on their level, we don't know this guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, my uncles who put me on hip hop, they know De La Soul. They didn't know what an MF Doom was. They probably would have known like a KMD if you would have went that deep, but they didn't know what an MF Doom was. So like, you would go checking for De La Soul because it's De La Soul, and then what is this? And they were good at finding that guy and
not
giving him
only
a
that,
thing.
but like this is a song we're gonna perform on television. You know, this was like
of
the
all
third
the records that
right.
were on the joint.
They definitely had the more like they had like the shopping bags, which incidentally is a Mad Lib beat as well. But yeah, I love this song. It's great. It's an MF Doom song. I don't care. Come at me.
Yeah, I would come at me, bro. I would agree. Again, jealous. Didn't think of that. Stayed in the Doom canon. But I did go a little bit off the beaten path. I'm not even sure what album this shit is on. So I don't even know. But it's one of my favorite Doom records. Change the Beat.
It's like the same hustle, bro. Two knuckles glow. Tucked in the Tigre, just let the name buckle show. Good googly moogly. See that loogie? Yeah, but keep it on the DL Hughley. You don't watch her, he might house her like Doogie. Just to cut a Lucy like Mitsurugi. Gooey gumdrops, who he got a style from his pops. You gotta give the bum some props. Ask your sister, her beatbox is more thicker. Doom that nigga, detox with more.
So
liquor.
Change the Beat, right? The first time that I ever heard Change the Beat, and this is why I don't know what album it's on, is Change the Beat was on. He performed it on the live from.
Oh, the live from Planet X, right?
The live from Planet X.
Buckle show. Googly moogly, see that loogie? Yeah, keep it on the DL Hughley. You don't watch it, he my house her like Doogie. Just to call her Lucy like Mitsurugi. Gooey gumdrops, who he got his style from his pops. You gotta give the bum some props. Ask your sister, her beatbox more thicker than Doom that nigga.
And I remember hearing the verse and being like, oh, he's losing his fucking mind on this.
Okay, so I'm doing a little live
digging
here. This was a bonus track on Vaudeville Villain. I think it might have been like possibly a hidden track.
Yeah, it was like, so yeah, okay, you're bringing back my memory on it because it's like a 6-minute song, a 7-minute song, and it's mad like quiet noise, and then it comes in towards the end. But I didn't experience it that way first.
Right.
I experienced it on Live from Planet X. A modern day marvel that's terrible, better, horrible. What are you on the mic? Something crust up all his metacarpals. He said he ain't mean it totally by accident. After the show, he didn't follow where y'all taxi went. Like, what? Will this be? He says, will this be available on wax? Ask Max Mill. Like, he's just so. Yo, he says a line on here. One day he plans to put in a runway. With enough land for his own projects and gunplay, Section 8 penthouse made look like Faye Dunaway. A lot of rappers assed out like gay runaways. Like, yo. It's how they say, semi-risque. All day, every day, give out Emmys the quick way. Have the average MC say, give me a sick day. He really ain't have shit to say like Timmy McVeigh. Like, he goes crazy on this verse. Like, so... Oh, and then he's because the whole thing with the joint is that the beat changes a couple different times. My man said, "Good googly moogly, see that loogie? Yeah, keep it on the DL Hughley. You don't watch her, he might house her like Doogie, just to cut her Lucy like Mitsurugi. Like, yo, he's going crazy. It's just
Styles.
This is one of the most like to that point. It's one of the most flippin', like to me. Doom is super creative. This is him at his like apex of I'm saying anything, bro. I'm just gonna be wild, like whatever comes to my head. Like the one other line from here, that the one that I was having to look it up for, where he says gooey gumdrops, who he got his style from, his pops. You gotta get a bum some props. Like that shit. That's some shit like in my house. I could hear like. My aunt being like, you gotta get that bum some props. Like he's just so relatable with, he finds obscure things to
phrases.
Cause he's always sampling. You could just tell he's a DJ at heart, right? Cause he's like, whether it be a rhyme, whether it be the sample, like he's always sampling. He's sampling from every source. But he even samples from like in the house.
Right.
You know? Like my mom or my aunt never said that exact sentence, but they would have.
It was the sentiment. It was the sentiment.
Yeah, man. So change the beat.
All right, so that's a pretty obscure. I'd say that's a deep cut. So I'm also gonna do what I think is sort of an obscure deep cut, and I'm gonna go. You could call this an MF Doom song. It might technically be classified as a Mad Villainy song, but the song is called Avalanche.
I'd like to start off by thanking our sponsor for financing the parts for this Frankenstein monster, along with my partner who's a bro of few words. We did this research for two nerds and two birds. Piano, do a show, same time watch it, and guaranteed to give him more than just hawk spit. MC extraordinaire, technique sorta rare, quarter clear, sorta scared. Next week more to share from the most retardedest artists this year and forever.
All right, so let me give a little background on this song for those who might not know. This song might have been recorded during the Mad Villainy sessions. I'm not entirely sure. It first appeared to the world. J-Rock played it in a radio mix in 2009. And a snippet of it, not even the whole song.
Yeah, it was a mean snippet too.
2010, Madlib plays it in a live set. 2011, they put a snippet of the song, still just snippets, on a Stone's Throw mixtape. And then in 2012, again, Madlib plays another snippet of the song. And then finally in 2016, through Madlib's label, Madlib Invasion, they drop a 7-inch single of the song officially released. And I believe there was also like a Mad Villain toy, like an action figure that came out.
Yeah, and there was a B-side too. That was crazy.
Yeah. You know, I don't have a lot to add at this point, but it's for all the reasons. It's kind of similar to why I also included Absolutely. Like, first of all, it's like, oh my God, we found a little bit more of the vibranium. You know, there's a little bit more of this thing that is so scarce and so dope. I love the beat. I
rapped over that beat too, trying to be down.
I recreated that beat in a very dope instrumental that a certain rapper has and has been sitting on a little too long, and we were supposed to drop that. So I just want to drop it instrumentally if nothing else happens with it. But it's just a fucking magical song. It's so eerie and spooky, and it does kind of sound like Latter Day Doom, you know, in terms of vocal tone. So I guess that makes me feel like maybe it wasn't done in Mad Villainy.
But it's I don't know. I mean, okay, tonally, you're correct. Clarity wise, it does sound like Mad Villain. Like he's so on time.
Right.
The timing is what changed more than anything for me with Doom. But the kids these days that find Doom will not understand what you just spoke about, wow, there's more in the vault of the Mad. Like, you don't know, for people who caught and understood Mad Villainy, you don't understand how, like, salivating for the next one we were.
Right.
Like, honestly, like, and here's the thing, like, I love Food, I love Vaudeville Villain, I love Born Like This. Man, ain't nothing like Mad Villain, man. That's a thing. It's something. You know what's crazy is that maybe it's not all the best Dooms. It's just a thing. It's a thing.
It is the best Doom album. Even though the best songs might not all be on there, it is the best album.
And it has the best feeling.
Yeah.
It's about how it feels. So, I to credit this song, I also have to credit the idea that everything you just spoke about how this song actually got to us. But think about the other couple of Mad Villain records that we got too, and how we got them. Like Random Radio Show, Slip It Here. Like, I still got the version of the joint that's got the animated video that looks all crazy, where it's got all these weird sounds in the song, and the song doesn't play through correctly. I'm drawing a blank on the name of it, but you would get like a little teaser of the fact that there were other Mad Villainy songs. Like, oh wait, is that Doom on a Madlib beat?
It's
like
indescribably exciting.
It's a Steph Curry 3-pointer. It's a big home run in the world. It's a indescribable feeling of, wait, you know the only thing that compares to it? New D'Angelo.
Oh, right. Yeah, because like when you heard the Really Love snippet from the Australian radio station, this was like years before the Black Messiah album came out, but it was just like, oh my God, there's more.
The only thing is new, like where you're like, wait, is that D'Angelo?
Right. It's
Like,
like,
you
hey,
start to-
you got to stop what you're doing. There's a D'Angelo song on this video game soundtrack. That you know, all of these little breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's just scarcity, and we don't have scarcity.
We don't,
in the
but
age
Doom
of having
kept that
everything
up.
on our phones, all access. Yeah, Doom kept that up. There was
Which
that
is interesting
rarity.
because you wouldn't have thought that's the way he would have went, because he dropped like 10 albums in 3 years
Right,
before that.
right.
So it's like he flooded you, and then he like gave you nothing. Like,
It's a great drug dealer, you know.
he
He got you hooked,
oh,
and then
man. Yeah, you really hit me with Avalanche. That's probably my strongest. I wish I would have put that on my list, and we still haven't overlapped.
not yet.
But-
and I'm
but-
starting to think we might not. But what do you got next? What's next up?
Let's go. We're gonna go back to Mad Villainy to jump into
Hold a cold one like he hold an old gun, like he hold a microphone and stole the show for fun, or a foe for ransom. Flows is handsome, O's in tandem, anthem, random, tantrum, phantom of the grand old opry, ask the dumb hottie, mask, pump shotty, somebody stop me, hardly come sloppy on a retarded hard copy. After rockin' parties, he departed in a jalopy. Watch the drop top poppy, known as the grind.
Again, I had to try really hard not to pick all Mad Villainy records, but this one didn't make my list, but it hurt me inside to not include it.
Rhinestone Cowboy, the video,
Right?
the beat,
Yep.
and then again, the opening bars.
Hold the cold one like he hold a gun.
Like he hold a microphone and stole a show for fun. Hold a flow for ransom. Flows is handsome. O's in tandem. Like and you know what's funny? When he raps stuff like that, he raps it so like it's not special.
Right, because
But it is. It's hella special.
When we recite these or when you read these, it's like
this is high science.
It's high science, but it's high science that's usually presented in a way where you think of like, it almost sounds like lyrical, miracle, spiritual, you know, but because of the cool aloofness and that mystery that he has, it doesn't carry that energy at all, and it only has like that impressive. How did a human mind conceive of this?
At the way here's the thing, we talked about the beginnings, the way he ends the bars on this, where it slows down and you know the beat kind of drops out a little bit. When he signs with the 9, he's a rhinestone cowboy. Like, you wrote that? Did you write it like that? Like, as a writer, in my head, you wrote it in rap. When he shines with the 9, he's a rhinestone cowboy or some shit. And then when you're in there, you're like, yo, I could just cut the beat out on that. Let me like, I don't know. I that's my vision of how it happened, but the fact that he had the wherewithal to lay that part that way. Doom, bro. Rhinestone Cowboy. Rhinestone Cowboy. That's the thing. It's so hard to pick I wouldn't sign on to do Make It Nomadic with
Mad Villain. Yeah.
with Mad Villainy. I wouldn't do it. I'm not cutting a motherfucking thing off of Mad Villainy.
Well, I don't think that's. We talk about this all the time. That's one of those records that I don't think it benefits.
It doesn't make it better. No,
yeah,
there's no. I don't want to cut nothing. I don't want to cut the MED joint. I don't cut nothing.
Nothing. I love the MED
record.
joint. It's all great. Everything's great on it.
And Rhinestone Cowboy as the finale on the, and that's the other thing. It's the last. So you start with accordion and you finish with Rhinestone. Like, talk about perfect sequencing.
It's amazing. All right. I'm going to hop around a little bit here. This might be one of my favorite MF Doom songs. It's from the Food album, which should come as no surprise based on what I've said. Deep Fried Friend.
As you call them, they call you when they need something. Trees for the blunt, to G's for the front. I found a way to get peace of mind for years and left the hell alone. Turn a deaf ear to the cellular phone. Send me a letter or better, we can see each other in real life. Just so you can feel me like a steel knife. At least so you can see the white of their eyes. Bright with surprise once they finish spitting lies. Associates is your boys, your girls, again just homies.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Were you with me when this album was discovered?
No.
Okay. So when I first heard Food, I was on I had a show in Miami. I live in Orlando. I had a show in Miami in which my former manager, Conscious, was driving, and he drove me and my man Exodus to Miami to do a show that I believe Pitbull was the headliner for, but it was like,
makes sense.
It was pre super famous Pitbull. He was still hella Miami Pitbull, and we went to go do a show out there, and we listened to Food. I think Conscious had just got the Food album. We listened to Food. Conscious is famous for listening to albums all the way through, no matter what. You're not allowed to skip.
4-hour drives.
Hey, you hear and it's just gonna loop, and that's just what it is. We heard Food all the way there. We heard Food all the way back, wow. And this record stood out like this one and Super. Like, that's why I got them. Like, they stand out like a sore thumb to me on the record. They don't, as crazy as a record as it is, nothing else on the record sounds like those two joints. As far as him doing the, I'm gonna take it and flip it all the way in one way. That sample.
The sample, you got it's again kind of, it's taking that same formula of I'm gonna take super hip hop, Houdini, Friends, and then I'm going to blend it with the Ronnie Laws sample, which is such a distinctive loop. And like, I never get tired of hearing it. Like, you could, hey, I made a 10-minute mix of this song. And I'm like, yeah, put it on right now. The first time that I heard this song was actually, I don't remember what the album was, but this album was released through Rhymesayers, and at the time, as a lot of labels, both indie and major label were doing at the time, you might buy an album of theirs, and it came with a bonus disc that was like the album or the label sampler. And I remember getting it, and I was like, oh, let me see what else. Like, you know what? I think if I remember correctly, I might have bought like the 2005 the Atmosphere album, though, You Can't Imagine How Much Fun We're Having record. And the bonus disc was, here's some other things that are coming soon from the label. I was like, oh, an MF Doom joint is on here. I'm going to put it. I think I probably skipped to that one first. I think there was a Blueprint joint on there. There was this Doom joint and some other ones. I want to say there was like a Merce, maybe a Felt song that was on there as well. And as soon as I heard this, I was like, I need to get this album as soon as it comes out, because this song is amazing. This song is amazing, and I love it. It's so expertly done.
It's so weird, though.
What do you mean?
Like, it's just like, and that's the thing. That's like, in a good way. It's so weird. Like, it's the epitome of like what you were saying of these four things don't match.
Right.
Like, it's such a odd match of things to create such a cool record to me. Like, I find flipping Friends weird.
Yeah.
Like,
and he really breaks it down, and like really
super breaks it down.
It talks about it in a way where like it's not an emotionally deep personal record, but it definitely feels like a personal record. Him sort of recounting all these ways in which, you know, for a song called Friends, that he's just basically outlining all the ways that the people in your life are going to fuck you over or fuck things up for you or have different intentions. It's extremely like paranoid and I guess you could kind of say negative record, but the loop is so damn happy that it kind of counters
right. And then he hits every aspect of friendship. Like he doesn't miss and the thing is he doesn't say any of the obvious things. He says all the things, but he doesn't say them in obvious ways.
Yeah.
And he says the things that you think you're the only person that thinks that.
Right.
Like that's the beauty of Doom. He said, I'm real choosy on what I choose to let crew see. And you're like, yeah, I've thought that before, but nobody else thinks that.
Right.
Like I just think that. You know what I'm saying? Like he does that. That's kind of a thing with him is he's always saying something that you feel like I constantly, again, I feel like when I listen to Doom, I feel like nobody understands Doom like I do.
Right.
I feel like it's impossible.
Right.
Like, people be like, yo, it's the same way that certain producers feel about Dilla, I think. But like, when I listen to Doom, I'm like, yeah, you like him, but you don't get him.
Right. And
Like,
I guess,
you don't get it.
For a guy who like never rapped in the first person and didn't really literally hit his identity, he's definitely in his writing was tapping into personal things, if that is being reflected so much in the way that we relate to it as listeners. Like, oh my God, I think that. I've had those thoughts before. So it's like deeply personal without being personal. But anyway, brilliant song. I had to throw it on there. What's your next pick?
Where are we at?
We have in total 4 more left. So you have 2 and I have 2.
2, okay.
Yeah.
Because I've added songs to my list since then, and I didn't know
Of
which
course
ones
you
I was
have.
going to pick.
Yeah.
So let me make sure that's 1 and 2. So this is what we're going to do.
Villain man never ran with crows in his hand and won't stop rocking till he clocked in a gazillion grand. Tilling the wasteland sands, raps on backs of treasure maps, stacks to the ceiling fan. He rests on these ashes, ask him after 10 miles in his galoshes, smashes stashes. Chip on his shoulder with a slip-on holster, a clip, a folder, and his grip on a boulder bolster. They supposed to know his show in his aura glow. Get from out the road when he gets
So this is a cheat code in a way because you're actually getting 2 Dilla beats. You're really getting 2 Dilla and Doom collaborations, but yeah, this song is bananas. Gazillionaire off the Born Like This album. This is another great way to start the album.
Gazillionaire, bro. Yes, that's the thing. That it was in picking these, I realized how many joints I picked. The only joint that I didn't pick, and I don't know, excuse me if this is your last joint or one of your last joints, but the only joint that wasn't a first track that, and it still is Beef Rap, which I love as well.
Yeah.
Love Beef Rap. So like, but I got the first joints on all the Doom. Even the joint off of Danger Doom, right? Is one of my favorite Doom records.
Yeah, we
right?
talked about that. Yeah,
and like I love that record. So like going through this exercise was where I was like, so Doom actually kills every first record like on his whole catalog. But Gazillionaire, again, this is one of the longest long verses.
Yeah,
it's two beats. It's I feel like I say this on every joint we went through. It's one of the best verses I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, it really is.
I would put the Gazillionaire rap against any rap. Like what rap? Put a rap up. Like if he stood he could stand in a cypher with anybody and kick this verse, and you'd be like, "You're out of control, bro."
Yeah, it's nuts.
Busta's in the cypher. Nas is in the cypher, like KRS is in the, you're going, that dude, hey, the third dude with the mask on, he went crazy.
Who was that masked man?
My man said on the rooftop with a large stone slab. I'm like, what? He might have been the only rapper to use the word slab in a verse.
Right. Yeah.
He said raps on backs of treasure maps. What?
It's zany. It's zany. And so dope. But again, because of that demeanor that he had, he could say really outlandish shit, but it didn't seem like he was reaching or trying. It was just like, what the fuck is this?
He's blessed with that voice, man.
He wasn't ever trying to sell it, you know?
No, that's the special thing.
It was there for you to enjoy. I gotta say, I really loved the Born Like This record when it came out. And then I revisited it a couple of years ago, maybe around the time that he passed, and I didn't like it as much as I remembered liking it. But now going through and talking and thinking about this a lot, I'm like, I might have to revisit this. What's your? You mentioned earlier that you think that the Born Like This album has some of just his best writing.
Yeah, I think it has his best writing. I don't think it's some of. I think he's at his apex. He's at his peak of lyric crafting. I'm not saying the songs are the best songs or this. I'm just talking line for line for line for line. Born Like This is a tidal wave of raps. And okay, so remember on the Food album, he does those 3 skits back to back.
Right.
And you're like, what the fuck? Like, why is there 3 skits back? And they're not even short skits. They're
quite long and involved.
They're quite long. Well, whatever interview I was watching where they broke down that Doom sampled talking audio in like this really creative way, opening up my brain to like, so even those joints he's rapping, like the way that he chose and chopped talking samples, he was creating a rap via sampling.
Right.
A thing that nobody's ever done before.
Right.
Okay. So I use that to now go back to the Born Like This album and say, he's got a joint on there. It's a song with a song title. It's a track that's just Raekwon.
Right.
He's not on the song.
Right.
It's like track 6.
Yeah.
It's a Raekwon song. And then, so when I listen to it with that logic, I'm going, he's the super villain. Like, he's like, let me find another slang elite wordsmith. He, in my head, he hears that beat that Raekwon raps over, and he's like, I can best express if he rapped on it.
He's got another one, I think, still dope on there. Also, is not him rapping on it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Where he's going, I know this lyricist. You're going to get my point across.
Right.
So it's almost like he wrote it and he did it. Like, that's kind of the brain that I'm putting my like in my head. To me, that's how he's listening to it. Because on those, like, he, like, almost like, yo, I sampled Raekwon.
Right.
Like, I just had him create.
Or at least
whatever.
just as a producer, you know, he's just producing it. He's putting all the elements there, so he doesn't have to rap on every song.
But I don't see it that way, though. I don't. Only because of the Food skits. That was a meticulous decision. So I don't look at that as producing. Like, to me, to some people, that those skits are the producing of skits.
Right.
That's rapping. He had to, like, and when I say that, it's because I work on albums. I try to find cool samples to put on the beginnings of songs and things. But he was chopping words
right
to make sentences that weren't previously sentences.
Yeah, creative sampling and piecing, like sort of like Ransom style, like cutting out magazine or newspaper words and putting it together to form a sentence.
It's rapping.
Yeah, no, good point.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the craziest thing ever. So, you know, so that record, he's doing things on Born Like This that are so like, wow, bro, you were out there with the thought, and I know he's doing stuff like that because Doom did things and didn't tell you what he was doing. Like he just did.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And he's like, no one will ever get this, but that's what's up. Like this is what I feel. This is what I get. And I mean, more Ryman, Tor Hyman, Paul Simon, I'm in. Like, yeah, Cells opened me up to Charles Bukowski. I wasn't on Charles Bukowski like that before Cells.
Right.
You know? Yeah, I feel like that's a record that is criminally slept on because it comes at the end of the run. But going back to it, he never raps better.
I gotta go back and show it more love and revisit again to see where it stands for me now, because I'm okay with albums sort of shifting in my ranking over the years. I think that's kind of a great sign that it doesn't stay stagnant. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and this is what I'll tell you as you go back to revisit it is, again, there's some weird stuff on there, but if you listen to it in the, like, it's the closest Doom, it's the realest Doom record since, like,
right.
You know, that's a MF Doom album.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Everything else that he's released outside,
although
these are...
he dropped the MF for this record too. It was just Doom.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that. Yeah. It was, I don't know.
Yeah. Crazy.
Okay. This is my penultimate contribution here. So far, we've had no overlaps. I would be a fucking sad fool if I did not include one of my favorite MF Doom beats and one of my favorite MF Doom choruses. It's got to be
choruses.
Rap Snitch Knishes.
Rap snitches, telling all their business. Sit in the court and be their own star witness. Do you see the perpetrator? Yeah, I'm right here. Fuck around, get the whole label sent up for years. Rap snitches, telling all their business. Sit in the court and be their own star witness. Do you see the perpetrator? Yeah, I'm right here. Fuck around, get the whole label sent up for years. Tight profile, low, like 8 and paid in full. Attract heavy cash, cut the game centrifugal. Mr. Fantastic.
That beat's insane.
So, are you familiar with the band Krungbin? Have you heard of them? Okay, they're having quite a run right now. They're from Texas. They put out an album with Leon Bridges, or a couple projects with Leon Bridges, but they're a trio, mostly instrumental, soul, I guess kind of funk rock band. And I've seen, there's a great clip on YouTube where they do a medley, kind of similar to what the Roots used to do, where they would do like a hip hop 101 and just play a bunch of songs. They're doing that, but with a far wider span because their hip hop is so much older now, and they play this beat live.
Oh, wow.
And it is insane. I love this.
You have to send me that.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. I believe that this is a David Matthews sample, and it's another great loop, similar to how I also felt the Deep Fried Friends loop was just, I could listen to it forever, and it makes me so happy.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal loop.
It's a great song. It's a hilarious concept, and the hook is so fucking good. Rap snitches, telling all their business. Sit in the court and be their own star witness. Do you see the perpetrator? Yeah, I'm right here. Fuck around, have the whole label sent up for years. I mean, that's so funny, and you can't go a year without being on social media or paying attention to what's happening in the world, whether it's the news or just like in the culture, where you don't see this happening.
Yeah,
like it's an evergreen topic. Rap snitches telling all they business.
It's phenomenal. Right quick, the beat plays and then it starts right behind itself.
Yeah.
What? And it's basically, the loop is 2 loops.
Yeah.
Like a second apart. Where does that fucking idea come from, man?
It's got like a little B section, right?
It's the beat and then it's the beat behind the beat. Like, that's insane.
I'm not even mad that, he shares this song with another rapper who I don't really know anything about, Mr. Fantastic.
Not only do you not know anything about, and with respect to Mr. Fantastic, it's so weird that he would select someone to be on a song who I think fits the song perfectly.
Right.
And I never want to hear him rap ever again.
He was on a couple other things. Isn't he on the King Ghidorah album?
He is, and I skipped all those records.
Right.
It's like, it's so weird though, but on this record, it works.
You know what? It's kind of like what you were saying before. He's using this instrument, or he's using this vessel to express a thought, and he sounds great.
He sounds great on this record.
And he does the chorus, he does the hook, and it's great. Like, yeah, Doom could have done that.
You didn't want anybody else to do it.
I don't even want Doom to do it. It has to be Mr. Fantastic.
It had to be him. Like, it had to be him. That's what's so crazy. It was a perfect selection for a cat that you're like, yeah, but I have no desire to ever download a Mr. Fantastic record or pull it up. Like, I never need to hear him rap again. But on this, he was the perfect selection. Man, Rap Snitch Conditions.
Love it.
All right.
We haven't had an overlap yet, so let's see if it happens. We're down to our last two.
Nah, it's definitely not going to happen. Well, this is the last one for me, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm saying it's the last two between us.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we haven't visited this album at all yet. And it's one of my favorite Doom songs in the catalog of his entire catalog.
To your leader, quick to claim that he not no snake like me neither. They need to take a breather. He been rhyming longer than Sigmund the Sea Creature. Been on Saturday feature. Pleased to meet ya. And came to wake you up out the deep sleeper. Like he needed to stop before he caught the knee drop. Even give you more sit than ZZ Top. When full bears thou shalt not more corner. Ghidra like one more steps in y'all's corners. So-called rich front if you wanna.
King Ghidorah.
They need to take a breather. He been rhyming longer than Sigmund the Sea Creature. Been on Saturday feature. Pleased to meet ya. And came to wake you up out the deep sleeper like he needed to stop before he caught the knee drop. Even give you more than ZZ Top. What? Ghidra like one more step in y'all's goners. Yo, oh man.
This was definitely a beat that I heard a lot more on the Special Herbs before I really had to go back and rediscover the King Ghidorah album. But yeah, it's we're running out of things to say at this point. I got to be honest. I really thought that we would at least have one overlap.
Not even one.
But you know, it's a testament to Doom that we can pack 20 songs in total, and they're all essential. They're all essential.
And there's more.
Yeah. We're also doing the catalog a complete disservice by not
almost disrespect. Like
almost.
But phasers nowadays, it's amazing raising young. Rule number one: keep your phasers on stun. Like I remember, shout out I Make Mad Beats. I remember this was a song that really connected me and him because it was like, oh, you like this shit? Because I thought I was the only motherfucker that thought this is nasty.
Right.
Like it's just got the beat's crazy, the loop is crazy, and again, man, the visualization that he gives on every record is so out of control. Like how he starts with and how he's embodying the different characters, but he starts with the King Ghidorah, take me to your leader. Quick to claim that he's not no snake like me neither. Like, what? Yeah, that's phasers would be on every Doom playlist that I would ever do.
All right, I'm gonna close it out then. This one's a little more obvious, and it's a well that we've already tapped, but you know, I feel like this is how I gotta end it. And again, it's a little bit more obvious, but I got to throw all caps on there.
So nasty that it's probably somewhat of a travesty having me. Then he told the people you can call me your majesty. Keep your battery charged. He know it won't stick, yo. And it's not his fault you kick slow. Should've let your chick hold your sick glow. Plus nobody couldn't do nothing once he let the brick go. And you know I know that's
All Caps might be my favorite Madlib beat.
It's incredible.
It's an incredible beat.
Yeah, I love the video for this as well.
The video's crazy.
Video's crazy. I mean, look, we're at the end of 20 songs here. There's not much else I can say at this point. MF Doom, rap good. Madlib, good beat. This is just basic
As he uttered
fundamentals.
a calm flow. Don't talk about my mom's, yo.
Don't talk about my mom's,
Sometimes
yo.
he rhymes quick, sometimes he rhymes slow, vice versa. Pick up a verse, nice, a nice verse high, hit it on the first try. Villain, the worst guy. The worst guy.
Yeah. So, look.
I had, by the way, all caps on my list. I moved out all caps once I realized I had 4 or 5 Mad Villain joints.
Right.
And I pulled from some different wells. All caps was on my list though.
But the great thing, and by the way, my like 11th on the bench was Rhymes Like Dimes. I also had that.
You got Rhymes Like Dimes.
Yeah, from Operation Doomsday. But this is a solid 20. Not that, look, in the world that we live in, you'll never need a curated list per se because there's all of these streaming services, but we'll put together a little playlist so anybody who wants to listen to this can get our, choice cuts, as it were. 2 years passed, and I feel like we're all going to be talking about the music of MF Doom for many, many, many more years to come. So
yeah, for the villain, play his records for the kids. Play his records for the next people coming up, the next kids coming up. Show them like I was showed as an up and coming MC when I was put on, that there's other ways to do this art form. Like there's not just one way to do it, and there's not just 2 ways to do it.
Right.
Like you could come up with a completely wholly original flavor and aspect and take on things. That's what I got out of Doom was, oh, whoa, I can break all these rules and do all this differently. Like, okay.
Right. And no one likely will, nor should they emulate what he has done. But if you take the spirit of what he's done,
facts,
there will be so many amazing artists if they have the imagination and the bravery and the disregard for any kind of norms or restraints to just make dope shit and do whatever the fuck you want to do.
Rest in peace, MF Doom.
We love you, Doom.
He's the GOAT. Like that's the GOAT. Like people throw around GOAT very loosely. That's the GOAT, man. He's the best.
Stony Island Audio.